Hi, good morning. My name is Sussana and I'm here to talk to you about a very simple topic. I'm here to give you a brief overview of one of the most simple topics, but that's one topic that makes us, some of us, or maybe most of us, extremely nervous. I'll tell you why. You must be thinking why. Let me tell you why. Today you are studying, or maybe you finished your studies. So what do you do after that? After that, the next step is you look for a job. Exactly. And what we are going to talk about is that job interview. Now, when I say job, this interview is not about the interview, it's not about the job, it's not about the employer, but it is about you. It is about you, it is about your personality, it is about your persona, and that is exactly why we call it a personal interview. So our topic for today is the personal interview that you will all be facing in your life. And believe me, this personal interview is going to shape your future. It's going to shape your future because this is your first step into the corporate world. Now, this personal interview starts even before, much before you can enter through the door of your employer. It starts with, first, understanding yourself. It's not about understanding the organization, it's first about understanding yourself. Because when you go for the interview, you will be asked a list of questions. You will be asked about your educational background. You'll be asked about any experience that you have, all the qualifications that you have right from your school days. You will be asked about all your achievements in life, whatever you've achieved in school, in college, while you took up some job. You'll also be asked about the skills that you know. When I say skills, I mean technical skills, computer skills, if you have any other skills which are attached to the job. Sometimes you may never even realize that there's some skill which gives you that edge over the others. So mention all the skills that you have. You will also be asked about languages that you know. Maybe you work in India or maybe you go abroad. So every language that you know, when I say languages that you know, it means spoken as well as written. So if you know any language, it's going to be of an additional benefit to you. Along with that, you will also be asked about any clubs that you are affiliated to. Now you must be thinking, why clubs? Because that shows the kind of background that you come from. Okay? You'll also be asked about your extracurricular activities. By extracurricular activities, I mean anything that you've done in your spare time. You must have picked up a summer job, you must have done an internship somewhere. All this plays a very important role in your interview. You'll be asked about your work ethics. Now when we talk about this topic in detail, we'll talk about work ethics. It's about your values, it's about how you gel into an organization. Okay? So let's talk about this personal interview a little bit more in detail. The first step, let's talk about the first step that you take. What is the first step? It's about creating your professional resume. It's that resume that will go into the employer's hand. He'll be having a look at it, yes, and then he wants to know who you are. So your professional resume, how do you create this resume? If you go onto websites, you have n number of websites which give you an overview of these resumes. Do not copy them exactly the way they are on the website. Make a note of it, see what suits you the best, and create your website accordingly. Create such a CV which gives your image a boost. It should be a powerful resume. Use action words. When I say action words, you can use words like created, stimulated, marketed. You have a list of action words which gives you that edge over the others. Lastly, very important about your resume is you have to remember that here you are marketing something. And what you are marketing is you're marketing a product, not something in the market. What I mean by product is you're marketing yourself. Because your employer needs to know that, yes, you are the best and you are the one that he's going to select. So for that, very important, you need to create your own USP. What's a USP? It's your unique selling proposition. You have to have that one-liner that gives you the edge. The employer has to sit forward and want to know, okay, why you are special. So you create your USP and then you go ahead and you market yourself. Another thing very important about your personal profile is be honest with your employer. Be very honest. Don't try to lie, because when you lie, it will show in your speech, it will show on your face, And also, if later on you're caught with that lie, it's either going to result in you being jobless, or it's going to have a very, very bad impression about your image. Okay? Also, give yourself the due credit that you deserve. Anything that you feel is going to make you more employable, you convince the employer. It's all about convincing the employer. The next step about this personal interview is knowing the position. How would you know the position? You're going for an interview, but how would you know the position? You have to know that you and the position are a match. Don't just go for a personal interview because you need a job. You have the educational background. Now you're going for a job which is going to suit you. Okay? So you know the duties. You have websites. You can check with the website. You can check with the organization. The list of duties, the responsibilities, the compensation. Okay? The location. When I say location, why is that important? Because if you're going to spend 2 hours to work and 2 hours back from work, that's 4 hours. And then you have 9 hours at work. So a good 13 hours you will be out of the house. So it's very, very important to know how you're going to get to work. Okay? You also have to know the work schedules, and you also have to know the benefits that the company is going to give you. You have to do all of this as a homework. So it's not the interview that you're going for, it's more about preparing yourself. How would you know more about the organization? You have websites, you have the organization's name. Now again, you have some organizations which have a name which could be a little tough to pronounce, like for example, Sivansh. So if you know you have a problem with the sh, learn to say that word, practice it at home. You have to find out if the organization is private or public. Do not go there and ask them questions which are very, very obvious. This will show that you've not done your homework. You have to know who is on the management. All this you will get from the website. Okay? So please do your homework before you go for your personal interview. Also, a little bit more about knowing the organization is if when you check onto the website, you have search engines like Google. You can go to your college placement office, the office that is placing you. You can ask your friends, maybe there's somebody you know from the organization. You can check in the newspaper. So there's an N number of ways of finding out about the organization. Do not go there and tell them what the organization is all about, but you should portray that you know what the organization is all about. They don't need to know because they know what the organization is. Okay? You just have to do your homework to show your level of interest in that organization. Okay? Let me also give you some general tips about a personal interview. Now, when I say general tips, it's about mapping your route to the interview. What do I mean by mapping your route? If you know that you are going to take 2 hours to reach the interview spot, give yourself 2.5 hours. There's traffic, there's bad weather, there's congestion on the road. You never know, you may just bump into somebody, you may have a small mishap. For example, you may just tear your shirt or you may just lose a button. Give yourself that half an hour. Why I say this is because very, very importantly, you need to be on time for the interview. More preferably, you be in time for the interview. If you are called at 10 o'clock, try and be there between 9:30 and 9:45. That gives you the time to go to the washroom, maybe just check your attire, check your shoes, check your hair, check your face, everything. Very, very importantly, if you smoke, do not smoke before an interview because you can get the whiff of that smoke and it's not a very, very good impression. Also, when you go for the interview in the first place, wish the receptionist. That's your first step towards success in your personal interview. If you do not know the name of the person you're going to meet, ask for the name. It's not wrong. You can always ask for the name. You can also ask for the pronunciation of the name. Do not try and pronounce somebody's name if you do not know it. In India especially, we have names which are slightly difficult to pronounce, so you can ask the receptionist for the correct pronunciation. Okay? Secondly is you check the attire that you wear. You have to go in a business attire, in a Western attire, unless you are otherwise asked. Ladies, a sari is a business attire. If it is well draped, if it is neatly draped, it is considered as a business attire. So check your attire, the colors that you wear, the tie that you wear, the print on your shirt, everything matters. Okay? The other step is to rehearse your answers. You know the kind of questions we are going to discuss in the next slide about what are the kind of questions that you're going to be asked. So you rehearse your answers. If you are nervous, you stand in front of the mirror and rehearse your answers. If you have a good friend, you can ask your friend to check on your answers. If he criticizes you, take it as positive criticism, because every day that you practice takes you one step further to your success. It's all about practicing. A very, very important feature that I should have mentioned even earlier is your smile. When you enter the room, if you smile and if you have that firm handshake, it shows your level of confidence. That is 20% of the interview already covered. Practice your smile at home. It should not be a fake smile, because people can see through a fake smile. Your confidence, your body language, your posture, everything matters. Last but not the least are your mobile phones. Please keep your mobile phones on silent, or even better, switch them off. Because if they vibrate, they're going to be in your pocket, it's going to disturb you. Maybe you have a thought process which is there, but then you forget. So please keep your mobiles switched off. You can always take that most important call after your interview. So as I said, let's go through a little bit of these topics that I've spoken. Very, very important is practice. You practice at home, you practice the answers, you stand in front of a mirror, you stand in front of a friend. If you have the option, you can record the interview. You have a small little room, you have your mobile, you can record the interview. That shows your voice, it shows your posture, it shows the way you smile, the way you portray yourself. So you get a gist of how you are going to look when you're talking to somebody else. The image that you project, like they say, the first impression is the last impression. When you walk through that door, your employer is going to look at your personality and decide right there whether he wants you or not, whether he finds you interesting or not. Yes? So it's all about your personality. It's also about your non-verbal communication. When you're sitting out in the reception, believe me, you are being watched. So see how you sit, see if you feel like yawning, be very, very careful about it, because it's all about communication, verbal and non-verbal. So you have to be very careful about everything, about yourself, about your personality, about your attire, and especially about your timings. So once we've done with these simple topics, let's talk about the interview questions as such. The most common interview question you will be asked is, as soon as you come and sit down, you shake hands, you smile, you'll be asked, tell me about yourself. Okay? You practice this. You may also be asked, walk me through your CV. Walking is another way of saying, tell me about yourself. Very, very commonly is, tell me your strengths and tell me your weaknesses. Very, very common. Tell me about yourself, tell me your strengths and tell me your weaknesses. Your strengths, yes, don't overdo them, because any little bit of falseness will be seen by the employer. Your weaknesses also, don't make them negative. Your weaknesses should be such that, yes, you can tell them that given the time I can overcome it. Given the time to work in your organization, I can overcome it. Okay? So this is one very, very important question, is tell me about yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses. After that is, you will also be asked, describe how you feel in certain situations. Like, for example, how do you handle conflict? How do you handle criticism? How do you handle risk? How do you handle teamwork? If a colleague disagrees with you, how would you handle that? If you have an employer who is a little condescending, how will you handle that? Now, all this shows how you're going to fit into the organization. Believe me, you will have more than 20 people applying for the similar position, for the same position. You have to have that people skills, those soft skills. You have the hard skills, but you have to have the soft skills to get you that position. So all these questions are going to show how you're going to be a people's person, how you're going to work in a team. Anywhere you go, you'll be working in a team. So you have to be a people's person. The other question which is always asked in an interview, always is most of the time, tell me about something that you're very proud about, an accomplishment that you are proud about, something that you've done in your life that you're proud about. Okay? You need to prepare about something that you've done, maybe in college, maybe on stage. Don't say that my neighbor bought a new dog, so I'm very proud of that moment. That's not relevant to your job. Okay? So you have to give something which is relevant to your job. They will also ask you, why should we hire you over the other finalists? You're already there in the finalist, so why should we hire you? Over here, you come back to that USP, that unique selling proposition. You have to give them that one-liner. Give them facts, give them figures, tell them why they need to hire you. Make them feel that, yes, they have to sit forward and ask you, yes, why, how, when. They need to be more interested in you as a person. That gives you that final edge over getting into the organization. The other question you'll be asked is, what motivates you? What motivates you and how do you motivate others? Just being motivated yourself is not enough. You need to motivate others as well. And why? Because you're working in an organization. If you are all about yourself, you're not going to be a people's person. You have to be able to work in a team. And why working in a team is, maybe you're heading the team, maybe you're good in one job, maybe somebody else is good in another job, maybe you will be working along with your boss, with your employer. So they need to know that everything is in place. You are a people's person, you have the skills, you have the qualification, you have the education. All that gives you that edge over the others. All that makes your personal interview a success. So let's summarize this again a little bit in detail. I've just given you a brief overview. Let's summarize this. The first step is that you know yourself, you know your qualities, you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, you know the organization, and you've made your professional resume. Check your resume again and again. Check it twice, check it thrice for spelling mistakes, for grammatical mistakes. It's like very, very common. I didn't went. Yeah, I didn't went is always I didn't go. You have to be careful about your grammar. Check your commas, check your full stops, check the capital letters, check your resume again and again. You could have made it professionally, but anyone can make a mistake. So please check your resume before you can hand it over to somebody else. You know the organization's history? You've checked on the websites, you've checked with your placement agency, you've checked on with your network, with your friends, so you know the organization. Then, the other step is you've practiced your eye contact. Do not look at the ceiling and talk. Many people make that mistake. If you look at the ceiling and talk, it shows that you're not interested in the person you're going to meet. You've checked on your eye contact, your smile is in place, your attire is in place. Before the interview, if you know that you do not have a business attire, 2 days in advance or 3 days in advance, go out and buy yourself one. If you keep everything for the last moment, maybe there'll be no time to go out and do it. Maybe you'll be rushing and just picking up somebody's tie, and maybe that tie doesn't coordinate with your shirt. So please keep your attire ready. By attire, I mean right from your clothes, to your shoes, to your bag, to everything, to your watch, to everything that goes onto you when you go for the interview. The other thing is, when you've practiced your speech, also check on your communication skills. Very, very important. If you know that you need to brush up your communication skills, sit and do it again and again. Sit and write the entire interview, write the questions and brush up on your communication skills. Because that is a very, very important aspect of this interview. The other thing is, you've made it to the interview on time, you've met with the managers. The last thing is that you convince them why it is you who need the position and not anybody else. Why it is you who are that person that they are looking for. Like I said in the beginning, this interview, the personal interview, is about you. It's not about the employer. It's not about the organization. Because believe me, there are other people who can fit into that slot. So it's about you. It's about your persona. It's everything. It's about your personality. So that's why we call it the personal interview. Now, if you've done all this, believe me, that organization will never be able to do without you. They need a person like you. They need a person who shows confidence, who shows that, yes, I am the person for this job. With this, I wish you all the best. And this is Sussana signing off. Thank you.